let's get into it. I hope everyone is doing well, taking care of themselves. I wanted to make a pre-market plan video going into tomorrow and just give a little bit of a breakdown, some feedback, some tips, some pointers, and so on. Today was a abnormal day, and the reason for that being is I got a lot more emails than I typically do. Today was a record breaking of 30 emails. For those who do not know, I have my email address under my banner on my YouTube to just get back, right? The whole point of me doing all this is to be that help and guidance for beginner traders, wishing that I had that when I first started. So I just want to give what I didn't have. And a lot of the questions were roughly the same, which is, right, the market conditions, everything that's going on, and a lot of beginner traders, right, dealing with lack of confidence, doubt in their system. So I just wanted to, hit on that, right, give some pointers, some tips, help everyone out. And yeah, let's get into it. So, first things first, right? This may be a little lengthy, but stick with me. We're just breaking things down. We're just having a conversation, you and I. So, let's start on the daily, and this is very important. Starting with the SPY. So these are the conditions that we are in right now with the SPY. I'm actually going to go to a naked chart here, to give you a better visual. Okay, so this is the SPY on the weekly, and something that you always hear me say in an educational video, a pre-market video, a trade recap, something you're always going to hear me say is know the pros and cons to your system, right? I'm always saying that. And the break and retest, it thrives in trending markets. That is when we step on the gas. The break and retest, the con to this system is channels and consolidations. And that's pretty much what we're living in right now in this entire market. That's just really been the case. So that's number one, right? You have to identify where you take a step back, you look at everything, even your individual tech names, and you ask yourself, are we trending? That's what you have to ask. Are we trending? And we are not. So that's number one, right? If you feel like nothing's working out, you're not getting follow through, your confidence is shot, right? It's just the market conditions, right? These are not the best conditions for our system. We have to understand the pros and cons. And when you know that, you you avoid a lot of unnecessary losses by just staying away from the channels. Something that you always hear me say is, I believe one of the hardest things for beginner traders to do is show up and do nothing, right? For the Discord, they've pretty much had a cash day since Friday. I've had pretty much over a trading week of cash days now. There's 5 trading days in a week. I think I have like 5 or 6 cash days. So it's just really not much going on right now. So I really wanted to emphasize on that and explain that to you guys. So when you look at SPY here, right, this is SPY. And as of right now, yeah, we're not in a bearish market, right? We got to have, we can't have selective hearing. We got to understand, right? Even though we're not in a bearish market, even though we're not trending, but this is SPY, and this is the weekly time frame. So on the weekly, we're just sitting sideways. Now, that's not me saying there are no opportunities. That's not me saying there's no volatility, but there has been, I'm sure we all see a lack of follow through, and nothing really has been going on. So when in doubt, zoom out. That's a quote you should always remember. And when you look at this on the weekly, the same way we have inside bar days, right, which means price is still stuck in between the previous day high and the previous day low. On a technical standpoint, price has not moved higher or lower. We have inside bar weeks. And when you look at SPY here, for pretty much 3 to 4 weeks, we just had an inside bar week. It hasn't done anything. So that's something to keep in mind. So, you know, we were blessed with this. It's funny. These are one of these things where you don't realize how good you have something until you don't. And we got very accustomed to just a nice trending market. Look at that. And now we're just sitting sideways. So that's something you should know. I just really wanted to hit on that so you can have a visual and see what's going on in the market. Now, let's go into today, right? Today, and if you look at this on the 15-minute, really nothing going on, just straight sideways action. Today was another inside bar day, but our key levels are being respected. So if you notice, a lot of the tech names today closed very green, and the reason for that being is because both SPY and QQQ held support levels, and well, it was a strong day on the SPY and the Qs to the upside, but still an inside bar day. So, a little tip that I can give you is, if whatever name you're looking to trade, if it's not near a key level, just don't take the trade. I know some traders right now who are saying, I'm just not going to take anything until the overall market SPY or Qs break outside of a range. So just remember, we're risk managers before traders, and your number one job as a trader is not to make money, it's to preserve capital. You can't trade without capital, right? So preserve it, protect it, right? Every shot counts. Don't waste your shots on not high probability setups. And this is what the market's doing. When you look at this on the 15-minute, does this look like we're moving higher, moving lower? No, we're just sitting sideways. So if there's been a lack of follow through, that is why. So going into tomorrow, something you would want to look for here on SPY, and you can really just ignore this previous day high. Do we see a pullback here and push into 690.30? Do we see what we saw yesterday in the day before yesterday, a push up into 690.30 and reject? That's very possible. Or do we get a break and retest above 690.30? If so, that would be nice, right? We can finally break somewhat out of this range. That would be very nice. So the two key lines in the sand here on the SPY tomorrow is, what do we do around 686? Do we pull back and hold? If so, we can see 690. Or do we break under? And if so, we can see 681. Or do we push up into 690, reject again? Or do we get above this, a break and retest, and see some upside? This is a weekly level, right? As I always say, the higher the time frame, the stronger the level. So that's not a coincidence. So if we can turn this weekly resistance into support, that's a big deal on the higher time frame. That's a big pivot moment. So let's see what sets up. All we have to do is look at the bottom of the range and look left. And this has been pretty much 4 days in a row. We have respected on the dot 681.45. We've just been playing ping pong. We got to the top of the range. We got all the way back to the bottom. We got to the bottom of the range, and now we're working our way back up to the top. So if you're coming into tomorrow and you're looking for some longs, be very careful. Be very, very careful, because you don't want to go long into that. You don't want to go long into that. If we can get over this, beautiful. Now, I will say, I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow is flat. I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of hedge funds, a lot of the big banks, whomever, are all sitting on their hands waiting to see what NVIDIA earnings will do. Tomorrow is a big day. Regarding news, we have Trump speaking at 6 p.m. That's labeled as red folder news. And then, of course, we have NVIDIA. NVIDIA makes up, I think, 6 to 7 or even 8% of the S&P 500. So NVIDIA is very strong, right? That's a big name. That can get us outside of this range. So we won't know until we know. So I'm just saying, be prepared, right? If tomorrow's just another choppy day, sideways day, just be hands off. But our job as traders is to react, not predict. QQQ. This is another name where Qs have just been, Qs is worse than SPY, actually. Let me go here to a naked chart for you. So this is QQQ, and something that I told my Discord today is, I've been trading for years now. I mean years. I've been consistently profitable for years, and I will say it's been a very long time. I think this is probably the first time in my trading career where I've seen a crazy range like this. Qs has been stuck in a range really since September, right? Just sitting sideways since September. So crazy range. The last time we saw heavy sideways action like this was back in 2023. We'll have our periods where it's like this, but right, we just end up breaking out, trend to the downside, trend to the upside, trend to the downside, and trend to the upside. So, and this is the weekly time frame. So when you look left, you don't really see many channels like we're seeing here. So it's a crazy time, but just remember the pros and cons to your system. So of course, if we're not seeing much continuation, a lot of fake outs, or just no setups, well, this is what Qs is doing. Qs has just been stuck in a very tight range on the weekly time frame. So if we're consolidating on the weekly, what do you think we're doing on the daily and even on the intraday? So that's just something to keep in mind here. I just want to show you a visual of this as well. This is not what we have right now, right? We were blessed to have this. Beautiful. Even when, the tariffs talk happened this past April with Trump, even then, right, we had straight downside and straight upside. It wasn't just sideways like we have now. So that's just something to keep in mind here on. Now, this is something we were watching today. And I mean, when you look at here on the 30-minute, what do you notice? Just a whole lot of nothing, just sideways action. Sideways action. Now, just like I pointed out here on the SPY, I'm going to point the same thing out here on the Qs. Man, this 599 is no joke. This is a very strong level. 3 days in a row just on the dot. Today, yesterday, the day before yesterday. This is a very strong level. Buyers are defending this very, very well. So tomorrow, I mean, we are at the top of the range, but history likes to repeat itself. So there's been a lot of peak and fells. We've been waiting for this 606 to really hold. If we can hold this on the daily, we can see a push in the 613.20. But all we have to do is look left, and we've had 2 peak and fells in a row already. It looked very promising, and then we just fell. It looked very promising, and then we just fell. We go to the top of the range, back to the bottom. So tomorrow, if we're a little heavy on the Qs, don't really be surprised. We can't be surprised. It's already happened twice now, after we get a peak and fell over 606.50. So tomorrow, what do we do? Do we hold 606.50, right? Can we get a hold on this on the daily time frame, right? Get a daily candle to wick off of this? If so, we can see a move up into 613.20. Or do we just fall back under this? And if so, right, we have ourselves another inside bar day, and we can just see a push back down into 599.35. I wouldn't rule it out, because we just have to look left, and that's what's been happening. All we got to do is look left. That's what's been happening. When we get under 606, we get back to the bottom of the range. So let's see. Will it be another peak and fell? We won't know until we know. Like I said, we have earnings tomorrow. Trump speaks at 6. So if tomorrow's just a sideways day, be cautious. Be prepared for that. IWM. IWM, another name. Let's just zoom out here. I'm going to go on the weekly. Look at this. Just another name. Just stuck in a range. Nothing going on. Pretty much been stuck here in between, what, 267 and 258. And this is a weekly time frame. You can see our weekly candles just been up and down, playing ping pong. That's all we've been doing. So all you got to do is look left. We don't have this beautiful trend to the upside like we were blessed with. Now we're just seeing this. So just keep that in mind. Remember that. So something I am watching on IWM here is if you go here on the daily, right? If you're in the middle of a channel, in the middle of the range, just don't take a trade. We know the pros and cons to our system. Channels and ranges, those are not high probability shots. You can see we're just sitting in a range on a weekly. If you want to wait, I would say, right, this 258.20, that has been respected on the dot, just on the dot, even on the daily. So you can look for something like this. I'm looking for a short under this if we want to stay heavy. We're kind of, I wouldn't say we're making lower lows yet here on the daily, but if we get under 258.20, that's a big break. Look at that, just being respected. I would look, and you can see that would be a lower low forming for sure. I would look for a short under that target in this 255 if or when that sets up. But you see how I'm waiting here for a range break on this name? I don't care to get chopped up in here. It's just not worth it to me. Yeah, we're bullish on the higher time frame, but I'd rather just wait. Your highest probability shot is going to be a range break, and it's off a weekly level. The higher the time frame, the stronger the level. So that's really what I'm looking for here on IWM. Other than that, I'm pretty much hands off here unless you want to look for scalps. By all means, but just be cautious. Just be very cautious. All right, let's go here on the 30. Get a better picture to zoom out. You can see our key level here is being respected. Today, you got a nice break and retest over 260-240. It's being respected. There's no doubt about it. On the dot. But just be very cautious. You're in a channel. You're in a range. So that's just something to keep in the back of your mind there. Tesla. So Tesla, bearish on the higher time frame. Today, it followed Qs, right? Qs bounce at the bottom of the range. All these names bounce with it. So I'm actually going to go here on the daily on Tesla. And the thing about Tesla is now it's just back in a range as well. Looked very promising yesterday. And I mean, when you look here on the daily, you can see we are trending to the downside on Tesla. Every pop has been getting shorted. We are stair-stepping on this name. There's no doubt about that. But today, right, we ended up bouncing with Qs. So going into tomorrow, guess what? Let's get rid of this previous day high. If you're not near a key level, just don't take a trade. That's the most conservative play and the highest probability play. Last week, I took a trade on Tesla off my 415.40. The higher the time frame, the stronger the level. And you see the key level is being respected. Under 415.40, we're definitely bearish bias. I just showed you on the higher time frame, we're trending to the downside. Key level today got respected. Yesterday, we turned it into resistance. Today, we turned 402 back into support, and we got that push up with QQQ. Very simple. So tomorrow, the highest probability shot, what do? Do we get a pop and fade again? We are bearish off of 415.40. That's your highest probability shot. You can see once bears, we're defending this. What did that do? We got that flush all the way back down to the bottom of the range. So 415.40 is a key resistance level, or do we break above it? Wait for your key level to get hit. Do we see a pullback long? All we have to do is look left. You can see support today. We turned it into support. Do we do that again? Or do we turn this key level back into resistance and look for some downside into this 395.95? How do you avoid taking a bad trade? If you're nowhere near your key levels, you're just sitting on your hands. You're just sitting on your hands. You want to be with the overall market in these conditions. The only name that's really been showing me relative strength is Apple. Now, that's the only name. Everything else has pretty much been insane. So that's pretty much the game plan here on Tesla tomorrow. What do? Do we just sit inside 415 and 402? Or do we get a reaction off our key levels? Do we reject 415 again? All we got to do is look left. I wouldn't be surprised, right? So instead of saying, okay, let me just try and look for a break and retest over the previous day high. Sure, right? You can look for that. 100%. If Qs are strong, right, and SPY is strong, you can look for that, and you may win that on a scalp, 100%. But you do have to understand, you're taking a trade in the middle of a range. Our job as traders is to take high probability setups. You don't have to take every trade that sets up. So even if this wins, that's, at least for me, it's different for everyone. That's not an A-plus trade. The A-plus trade was down here, a break and retest off your weekly level. Why? Now you can see key level to key level. That was your A-plus trade. Now this is an objective play. What does that mean? You're playing the continuation off our 402, right? Key level to key level. We're just in a range. So you would just be playing a continuation play off of 402, targeting 415, right? That's a valid trade, but you have to understand that's not a high probability trade. That's not an A-plus trade. So just keep that in mind. If you do take a trade off that previous day high, you're taking a trade in the middle of the channel. It's clear as daylight. I just want to give you guys these visuals so you can, see exactly what I mean by that. Now, AMD, another name, and I'll break this down. AMD, very simple here. How do we not take a trade on AMD today? It didn't come near a key level. So there's just no trade. Very simple there. So going into tomorrow, actually, I'm going to start here on the daily. AMD's very weird, right? There's a lot of gaps on this name. There's a lot of gaps. So we have this gap here over 218.60. This is our gap from earnings. We have a $30 plus gap under really, 187.20, really under 193.30. $30 plus gap back from October. You can see the date here, back from October. And then, we ended up gapping up today. So we still have a gap. We got like 3 major gaps here on AMD. So it's just sitting in a very weird spot. Now, the thing about AMD, and when you look at this is another name in a channel, right? We're in between 225 and 203 in this range. So a lot of these names, I hope you're picking up on this, that we are not in high probability environments. You have to understand that. So very simple for me here on AMD. A break and retest over 218.60. I was looking for this roughly 3 weeks ago, and my key level was just getting rejected 4 days in a row. Very strong key level. This is a gap fill play, right? Nothing in its way up until really 234. So we can look for, a long over 218.60, targeting the top of the range, which is 225, but it's a gap fill play as well. It's a great objective play. Or we just wait. What do we do at 203? This is 203. Every time we get to the bottom of the range, what do? Top of the range, top of the range, bottom. Bottom of the range, top, bottom. See what I mean? So we're just playing ping pong in here in between 225 and 203. So the 2 high probability shots tomorrow is really going to be, all right, what do? A long over 218.60, or a pullback long 203, or stick with me now, a break and retest under 203, which is also a gap fill play. And under 203, we're bearish bias. So that's the best way you can really just sit on your hands and let your trade come to you and take the highest probability shot. You can look for this. All right, cool. I'm going to short under the previous day low, but yeah, it's a $3 gap. Yeah, it's a good RR, but it just doesn't make sense, right? You're not taking a trade off a weekly level, and you're going short into a weekly support level. You know what I mean? So the highest probability shot would be, all right, what do we do at 203? And you see it, I'm pretty neutral here. I'm not just, all right, long or short. QQQ, right? Pullback. What is Q's doing? If Q's is showing me it's strong on the intraday and we're trending, okay, cool. I can look to see if buyers step up here. If Q's is very strong and SPY is very strong to the downside, okay, cool. We're under the previous day low. We're breaking back under a weekly level. That's a lot of confluences there for downside. So, right, just be patient, read it, and then based on where we're sitting right now, I mean, we know things can change during pre-market. A break and retest over 218, that's a great confluence. We're also over the previous day high, which means what? Price is likely to continue higher. So when in doubt, zoom out, trust your key levels, right? It doesn't make sense to go long over a previous day high into a daily resistance level. I just showed you on the daily time frame. This 218.60 is a strong resistance level. All we got to do is look left. Look at that. It's a lot of sellers defending this. So be very cautious. So just wait for your 2 key levels to get hit here on AMD. Amazon. No surprise here. Look at this. Weekly key level. Look at our weekly key level get respected on Amazon. You got a break and retest to the upside. Had a little bit of a morning squeeze. This was actually on one of my close watches. You got the break, you got the retest here, you got another entry here. So just key level being respected, and surprisingly, Amazon actually had some pretty clean price action today. So zooming out here on Amazon, very neutral. I'm very open to both sides. Now we can see our 210.30 is a key level here, and I love the confluence because it's also the previous day high. It's also the previous day high. Look at that. That's what I want to see. Had a little bit of a peak and fail here, so we know this is a key level. A break and retest over this, we can see 212.60. We can see that. I've actually been a little bullish bias on this name for a while now, and I'll show you why. The reason for that being is because Amazon, and I'll show you on the daily, I love the breakdown on this name. Amazon actually had a little bit of a reversal here. You can see we were pretty much bearish to the downside, trending in this channel. We consolidate it. After we're trending to the upside or downside and we start to see consolidation, that's either going to be, that's a pivotal moment. Now we're just waiting for a move higher or lower. What do? And we have to move higher. And you can see since then, right, we've had a V-shaped recovery here on Amazon. And this looked way better on the daily. I'll show you. Look at that. Look at that. Complete V-shaped recovery on the daily time frame here on Amazon. We were up at, what, 212.60, pulled back to 197.30, and now we're back at the top of the range. V-shaped recovery on Amazon. So that being said, I'm very open to this. Look at that. I mean, today was a beautiful day. We had a very big price range movement. You can see 202.70 held very well as support. We didn't get a deep enough pullback, obviously, but you can see key level just being respected here. And then we got a beautiful break and retest on over 205. That's a weekly level. The higher the time frame, the stronger the level. And then 210 gets respected on the dot. So tomorrow, right, if we can get along over 210.30, that is beautiful. If we're just in between, 205 and 210, you're hands off, right? This is how you avoid bad losses. You don't want to just come into the day looking for any old trade. If it's not near a key level, you're not looking to take a trade. It's very simple. So if we just open up dead smack in between the previous day high and low, in between 205 and 210, guess what? There's no trade for you to take. It's very simple. This is how you avoid unnecessary losses. Right? You don't need to take a trade if it's not there. So the higher probability shot is 210.30. Now, something I've been doing lately is skipping trades. If Amazon is giving me something like this, but I see QQQ doing this, I'm not taking that trade. I've been very conservative. I've been scaling out very aggressively. I mean, the list goes on. Pretty much a handful, more than a handful of cash days, but just being conservative in these conditions. So lately, I've just been on the wave of if I don't have the overall market behind me, I'm not looking to take a trade unless there's clear relative strength or weakness. And the only name, like I said, has been Apple, and we'll get into that. So that's something you want to read, right? If you get a break and retest over this, but Q's is just rejecting and tanking from the top of the range, I'm good, right? I'm not really going to look to take that trade, but that's the game plan there on Amazon. Microsoft. So another name that's pretty much been trending to the downside, but today, right today, what did it do? It bounced off our weekly level with QQQ bouncing. So let's go here on the daily. Look at this. This is a name that's like very bearish biased. We're trending to the downside here. Microsoft is one of the names that I like just because we're no longer in a channel. You see the weekly, you see the daily. The bears are 100% in control here on Microsoft. So let's go here on the 30-minute. And today I was actually looking at Microsoft. We just, right, Q's bounced, so I skipped it, right? I was looking for a short under 384. You can see we ended up pretty much just had a nice little bear trap, right? 384 pushed down to 381, which is super solid. You know, we even broke under the previous day low. So it looked like, hey, this thing is going to continue to the downside. But Q's ended up holding its weekly support level, and all these names bounced with it. So I'll clear this up for you just so I can show you the simplicity. If you don't get anything near a key level, you're not taking a trade. Now, the RR on this is pretty good, right? If you want to take a break and retest over the previous day high, you're just playing the pullback retest into 392. This is a daily. You can see we broke it. We still need to retest it. Or you can just be patient and wait. Do we do that? Or do we get this? I'm waiting for this. This is a name I'm not looking to long on Microsoft. Like today, great example. The Bulls were in control. You got a nice break and retest. I'll show you on the 1 minute, a nice break and retest back over. I skipped it. I don't care to counter trend trade this name, right? I want to be on the right side of the fence. So the game plan here is a pullback short, retest needed. Do we get a pop and fade off of 392.30, or do we get along above it? We still need to retest this. And then, of course, I would be looking for a short under 384.80, targeting this previous day low. And guess what? If we just sit in here, there's no trade. That's a good thing. That means that's a loss that you won't take. I hope these things are making sense what I'm trying to tell you. So just wait for your key levels to get hit. We're bearish bias on the higher time frame on this name. It all depends on what Q's wants to do. You can see we pretty much were just sitting in a channel here as well on Microsoft, and then we got that next leg lower. And today looked very promising for this next leg lower. So we're just waiting, right? We're bearish bias. I mean, you can clearly see here, even on the 1 hour, we're trending to the downside. We're trending to the downside. This is an A+ shot. This is an A+ trade. If you can get a short entry off of 392.30, look at that. We need to retest this. This looks really good here on Microsoft. And then Apple. So Apple was on my close watch list today. This has kind of been the story, right? Thesis spot on, analysis spot on. Just have not been able to get an entry. So the one thing that I loved about Apple, I felt like I drew a play up on the whiteboard that was going to win us the football game. This was a beautiful, beautiful setup, and I really, really liked Apple. Kind of like I just drew up on Amazon, but just could not get an entry. So I noticed Apple, right? We ended up just having a very big pullback here, a very big pullback. And then, you know, we broke back above. This is our weekly, 265.30, and you can see just being respected on the dot here, being respected. But we were in this little channel to the downside. We broke our weekly. We got the retest. We broke outside of this channel. And then what do you notice? Just a straight rocket to the upside. So Apple looked really, really good. This was a name that I wanted today. It was on my close watch list. Just didn't get it. And the game plan on Apple today was a pullback long off of 265.30. Why? Because we'll also be over, we would be turning our weekly resistance back into support like we did yesterday. So I was looking for a pullback long here or a break and retest over the previous day high. Just to get that continuation play off of the 265. You can see here, just very strong open on Apple. We only had 2 down close candles in this entire rip. We went from 267 up to 274. Just a super big day here on Apple. And 2 days in a row, just been relative strength on this name. Relative strength. So going into tomorrow, right, let's see. Do we get a pullback? A break and retest over 273.40. That's a super solid play on Apple. Can we get that? If this market wants to stay strong. If you don't get anything near it, guess what? You don't take a trade. If there's no key level around and we just want to sit in here, there's just no trade to take. I hope that makes sense. You want to be very selective and very conservative in these conditions. This is a great setup if that occurs. Right, we're stair-stepping higher. We're getting back over this. We turned our weekly into support. If we can get over 273, we can see 280. Now, if we do sit sideways tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised just because it had a very nice trendy day today. If you go here on the daily, you can see very bullish on this market. Every dip has been getting bought up very aggressively on Apple. The last 3 days have been very strong green momentum candles to the upside. And if we can get above 273, we can see 280, and then above 280, right? That's all-time highs. That is all-time highs. So I hope this helps. A little tip that I want to give you guys something that I've been doing. Remember, there are 4 outcomes to a trade. That's going to be a big winner, small winner, break even, or a loss. In these conditions, you want to scale down from your average position size. That's number one. Your risk managers before traders. You want to scale down in these current conditions. And number two, scale out. I've been scaling out very aggressively into those first momentum pushes. I wouldn't say very aggressive, but a good chunk, right? I'm either scaling out either half my position or a third of my position into that first push. Why? Because if I get stopped out, keep in mind, we're not really getting followed through a continuation. I de-risk and I locked in profits. So what does that mean? That means my trade is going to be a very small winner or just break even. A very small winner or break even. I think that's a good tip to help you guys if you want to continue to take your setups. So those are really the main 3 things. If it's not near a key level, stay away from it. Right? Don't come into the day just looking for setups. Number 2, scale out. You have to scale out. Right? If you get that first push, 8%, 10%, de-risk. That way, if you get stopped out, you're not taking an entire loss. You're de-risking. Right now, you've lowered the probabilities of taking a full loss. You have to think of it like that. And number 3, scale down. Scale down. Right? You can never go wrong scaling down. You can go wrong scaling up. You can't go wrong scaling down. Remember that. So look at the SPY. SPY is in a channel. SPY is in a range. Look at QQQ. It's in a channel. It's in a range. Keep that in mind. So these are not the conditions where you're saying, okay, now's the time to make all the money I can, or now's the time to full port or step on the gas. No, now's the time to be very conservative, very, very conservative. And I think I speak for all of us. We have seen the conditions, the last, 2 weeks? Last week was a good week trading for me. I ended the week green. I went 2 for 3, but that was a tough week of trading. I'm not going to lie to you. It was very tough, right? Pretty much nothing this week. Nothing's been going on. So just those are the main things that I really want to give to you, right? Just understanding the higher time frame, the conditions we're in, scale down, be a risk manager, scale out of those trades. As soon as you get that first big momentum push in your favor, scale out and then see if you can get follow through. If not, so what, right? It's all probabilities at that point. So I hope this helps. Stay safe, guys. Tomorrow we have NVIDIA earnings after market, and then we have Trump speaking at 6 p.m. So hopefully, right, that can give us some type of momentum push to either side. I don't care if it's to the upside or to the downside. Just get us out of this channel. Also, I will be uploading, I believe, 10 minutes before market open, my Zoom link if you want to come trade live with me. At least, right, just learn in real time. Even if I don't take a trade, I'm pretty much walking through everything. I'm basically thinking out loud. So see you guys tomorrow. See you guys on the next one. Stay safe. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.